Hello, Donald. Yes, of course, I've just seen that a US federal court has said that you're not actually allowed to bring in tariffs and that all of the tariffs you've brought in over the last few months are now null and void. Yeah, no, I'm not laughing, I swear. No, I know it's serious. I know, it's outrageous, Donald. This is your entire economic policy gone up in smoke. And the court specifically said that your tariffs on Canada, Mexico and China cannot go ahead. I am so angry, Donald, I'm punching the air. So what happens to the tariffs that people have already paid? The government has to refund them with interest. Oh my God. Hey, Donald, I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh. I know this is the funniest thing that's ever happened. I'm sorry, I promise that there is nothing else you can say that I will laugh at, okay? Serious face now. Yeah, sure, if I laugh, I'll take responsibility for this whole mess. Wall Street analysts have come up with a new nickname for you called Taco because Trump always chickens out on tariffs. Oh, I swear, I'm not laughing. I swear. How did you respond?
But don't ever say what you said. That's a nasty question.
So you mean to tell me that this random, nearly defunct court located in Manhattan that nobody's ever heard of, essentially, the United States International Trade Court, just decides to rule and say, the tariffs that the President of the United States has levied, you know what? We're just going to say they're null and void. He doesn't have the power. In fact, he's overstepped the power to do so. And based upon this ruling, has given him 10 days to undo what he's done through the bureaucratic process. Obviously, there's been appeals put in place, but I'm going to say something. And I've said it before in the past regarding other situations and circumstances regarding other judges. All the judges that sat on this panel need to be charged with treason. Because they're traitors. You're going against the President of the United States that has the best interest of our nation at hand, while you're sitting there, most likely, I'm just assuming, in some way, shape, or form, some facet, getting your pocket padded, or somebody's in your ear, twisting your arm, whatever it might be, to side with other nations besides your own. They need to use the treason law. Treason needs to be invoked. These people are traitors, period. You can't just keep having these little moles popping up whenever they see fit. Oh, we don't like what he's doing. Hey, go ahead, strike it down. Hey, we don't like what he's doing. Hey, go ahead, strike it down. But these people are literally against me and you. They're against the United States' best interest. They don't want us to have infrastructure. They don't want us to have industrial capability. They don't want our defense ability. They want us to continue to stay weak. They don't want us to be able to build our own products to fight for ourselves and fend for ourselves. They want us to be beholden to the rest of the world. It's crazy. Our communities, since NAFTA and so forth, have been wrecked, due to the policies of all the sellouts that came before Trump. At the end of the day, this is a more sellout narrative, and these are people that have been bought by the globalists. Period. These are globalist fucking judges. This is a globalist panel, and they need to be thrown in fucking prison.
This is according to BBC. Now listen, a US federal court has blocked President Trump's sweeping global trade tariffs in a major blow to a key component of his economic policies. The Court of International Trade ruled that an emergency law invoked by the White House did not give the president unilateral authority to impose tariffs on nearly everyone on the world's country. The New York-based court said that the US Constitution gave Congress exclusive power to regulate commerce with other nations, and this was not superseded by the president's remit to safeguard the economy. Now, this is what's happening. I'm seeing a lot of Americans trying to talk about the revocation of the tariffs that President Donald Trump tried to put on all these things. And I think this has a positive implication, especially to the lives of America. Remember, these really bruised the relationship between the United States with other countries. And I think when we have these changes, and some people consider this as a new step for economic development for the United States. But according to Mr. Donald Trump, this is a step towards economic development. The tariffs. And when you look at the tariffs, how the tariffs are affecting the United States citizens, you get to realize that it is affecting them negatively. Now, since this has been trending, you might be asking yourself, who brought the court case? Now, the ruling was based on two separate cases. The non-partisan Liberty Justice Centers brought one case on behalf of several small businesses that import goods from countries that were targeted by the duties, while the coalition of the U.S. state government also challenged the import taxes. The two cases marked the first major legal challenges to Trump's so-called Liberation Day. Tariffs and went to the Court of International Trade, a part of federal court system with specific authority over trade. Now, a three-judge panel ruled that the International Emergency Economic Power Act, that's the IEEPA, a 1977 law that Trump cited to justify the tariffs, did not give him the power to impose the sweeping import taxes. This is why it gets interesting. The court has blocked a separate set of levies the Trump administration imposed on China, Mexico, and Canada in response to what the administration said was an acceptable flow of drugs and illegal immigrants into the U.S. However, the court was not asked to address tariffs imposed on some specific goods like cars, steel, and aluminium, which fall under a different law. I'm your host and presenter Eugene Doki Stories. For those who are watching us for the first time, consider subscribing to the channel, join our membership, and really get so we can offer you. Now, this is the Americans' reaction towards the revocation of these policies or tariffs that were imposed on this country that are affecting the global economy. So buckle up for this video. I'll be back with my commentary.
Federal court has just blocked the bulk of President Trump's sweeping global tariffs from going into effect. The ruling comes from the U.S. Court of International Trade in Manhattan. It's a unique and relatively low-key division of the federal judiciary, but tonight it is flexing its authority in a big way. The three-judge panel ruled in favor of an injunction against the tariffs which have roiled worldwide financial markets in recent months. Unclear right now whether the injunction is temporary or permanent, but the decision is potentially massive political, economic, and legal repercussions. Just moments ago, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller wrote online, "The judicial coup is out of control."
I should note, this was a 3-0 opinion. The three judges on this court were appointed by President Reagan, President Obama, and President Trump. So I don't know where they're getting this coup language from. This is a huge setback for Trump and his administration. As big a deal as the tariffs were, this is as big a deal in the opposite direction. It essentially pauses, for now, rules illegal and unconstitutional almost all of the tariffs that have been in place. And the core of the ruling is this. Typically, it is Congress that controls the tariff power. However, Congress can pass laws giving that power to the president in certain instances. They did that years ago in a statute called the IEEPA, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Trump then declared, okay, we are in an international economic emergency because of our trade deficits, because of other economic worldwide factors. And this court unanimously 3-0 said that is not an economic emergency.
The media is done playing nice with Donald Trump as he just had the worst press conference of his life. Now, of course, Taco Trump was the star of the show, but another reporter called him out for his BS about the Ukraine war. You've heard Trump say that the war never would have started if he were president. So a reporter asked him this.
You've always said that the war never would have started if you were...
Would have never happened, and it didn't happen.
He doesn't seem willing to do anything that you want him to do. Do you still believe that he wouldn't have launched the war?
Right. You always say this would have never started because you're so respected. Putin respects you, and yet he does not listen to anything you have to say. He doesn't respect any treaty, and he calls for a ceasefire, and he calls from you to stop, to settle down. Nothing. Putin walks all over Donald Trump, and a reporter called him out for it. Now, of course, Donald Trump sandbagged the question, and he went on about trillions of dollars of investments and other things. But yesterday's press conference showed that the media is done with Donald Trump. They are going to start pushing back on all of his lies and nonsense. Well done. Donald Trump just lost in New York court, and Governor Hochul immediately rubbed it in his face in the most beautiful way. Now today, a Trump-appointed district court judge ruled that the Trump administration cannot immediately end New York City's congestive pricing, nor could they retaliate against the city should they keep the program in place. But for Trump, the bad news was just beginning, because Governor Hochul immediately took to Twitter to do this. The perfect response. So much winning. That is going to send Donald Trump into a tizzy. You can expect 1 a.m. Posting. You can expect ketchup to be flying in Mar-a-Lago. You can expect tears in a bucket of KFC, because Donald Trump hates nothing more than people he perceives as his enemies getting over on him. And now he has Governor Hochul celebrating his loss in court. He hates losing, and he hates the people he views as lesser than him celebrating those losses. This is going to be a really bad day for Trump, so expect some 1 a.m. tweets.
So, delusional, dementia-having dictator Donnie got his feelings hurt again. And a federal court told you to take them damn tariffs and stick them up your ass, because we've been telling y'all that they were illegal and he had no business. Wasn't his job. Not his job. So the federal trade court, y'all didn't know we had one of those, told Donnie, look here, man, you can't do that. And every tariff that you have, y'all remember when Donnie came out in April with that big ass list, and he was just up there shining, stunting, and we gonna put this much on this. They told him, you can throw all that shit in the trash, because ain't none of it real. None of it. But you know what's gonna happen? All that money these people have spent to get shit into this country with those tariffs, Donnie gonna have to get that money back. And that big, beautiful bullshit bill that y'all trying to pass includes those tariffs. So they just blew that shit up too. Y'all, big dumbass businessman that y'all were so inclined to support, has done nothing right since he's been in office. Deporting people that's from this country, that have the right to be in this country, illegal ass tariffs, stealing, got this little crypto event going on, got people paying for pardons. What the fuck? Y'all voted for this criminal. I told you, once you put a criminal in the White House, you expect criminal activities. And that's what we got. Delusional, dementia, dictator, Donnie. That's what we got. Running our freaking country. Well, he ain't running nothing. And all of you Republicans, senators, and House members should lose your freaking jobs when it's time to vote again. If we get there without him trying to cause a war, because that's the only thing that he can do now, because the federal courts is not putting up with his bullshit. And people are turning on him because they see this shit he's trying to pull ain't working. Y'all can believe that bullshit they talking about Donald Trump and Elon Musk having a feud because Elon said he don't agree with that big, beautiful bullshit bill they trying to pass. Elon was the biggest crook up there. He stole a lot of information, and all of those investigations they had on Tesla and that other little fake ass space company he got down there, yeah, he cut all that off. Stole all this information. Got those $1 billion worth of contracts. And he took his ball and went home. Left us to deal with it. But every Republican that's in the Senate, that's in the House, they should not retain their seats when it's time to vote. Because they supported this when they could have stopped this foolishness from day one. The trade court told him, you have no power to invoke tariffs on anybody. They asked him, what do your tariffs have to do with fentanyl? What do the price of tomatoes have to do with stopping fentanyl? What do the price of toys have to do with stopping fentanyl? Because that was his biggest thing. We doing this to stop fentanyl. You can't use tariffs to try to get money you think somebody else owes you. And that's what they told him. Go sit your little fat ass down somewhere. But y'all tell me, because y'all voted for this crap. Y'all voted for delusional, dementia-having dictator Donald S. Trump to run this country. Because your racist ass didn't want to vote for that black lady. Your misogynistic ass didn't want to vote for that black lady. Because you think a woman is incapable of running this country when we have the most sensitive man in the world who is worse than a woman, worse than my 12-year-old son about getting his feelings hurt. They done gave that man a nickname, Taco. Lord have mercy.
Trump is trying to bait China into going into real war. And that's the issue with American exceptionalism and American narcissism, is that not only do we believe we're the only country that exists on planet Earth, but we also believe the modern world cannot function without us. As if we haven't been probably one of the most significant aspects in destabilizing the entirety of the world, especially the West, so we could force the life of America and the empire of America to continue to develop. This is the growth of America is just like the growth of Meta and Facebook. There's absolutely no way it should have existed after the first or second major incident, but somehow we're 25 incidents deep and still no accountability has been thrown on them. And they've been allowed to turn into this monstrosity that we know as today. And also, again, a lot of these wealthy people that are making decisions, they've never taken accountability for anything. They've done some ridiculous crimes, and they still have gone past that. Whether it's crimes to women, whether it's crimes to less fortunate people, whether it's crime to people of different skin colors, these people have never taken accountability. They were the kids that got DUIs at 16 years old and then ended up getting a new car instead of losing their license and going to jail. These are the kids that run the government, not people that actually worked hard or are this superior Aryan race. They've just never been punished, never been consequenced. So they fundamentally don't know how to exist in a reality where they've ever been wrong. And when they're wrong, they don't have the authority or access to the power that they usually have for claiming themselves to be right all the time. So the best case scenario, and this is why I keep on speaking about the destabilization of America rather than anybody else happening in the world, because as a business owner myself and somebody who engages in the world of business, America is being destabilized so it can be brought down to its lowest potential point, lowest stock price. So the wealthy people who will inevitably be buying those $5 million gold cards to access citizenship in this country that we claim has an immigration problem, those people will be the ones to buy up the real estate, to buy up the businesses, especially all the small businesses that ended up getting destroyed through this tariff crisis. And then they're also going to be the ones that provide employment opportunities at slave wages for those Americans who didn't end up making it above the glass ceiling when we decided to make our society just rich and poor rather than sell this illusion of a middle class again. And again, I'm not supporting this dude, any of these people, but this is why I just respect Putin and the decisions that he makes as it regards power and his position in society, because even he knows, it's almost every world leader understands that Trump is one of the dumbest human beings on planet Earth and will literally do anything for a bag and anything for somebody to tell him that he's the person who he thinks he is, which his cult wants him to think that he is. Not because he is, but because they want his validation, because they think he's Jesus. So all of these larger world leaders who actually have real political, real war experience, real leadership authority experience, they're just waiting for Trump to blow this up like he's blown up every single business he's ever run. And by then, you don't have to do a war against America. You don't have to do a 2016 or a 2020 all over again. You just wait for America to tear itself up. And then when Americans and America itself is so desperate for salvation, apart from its own self, apart from relying on its own people, then you can come in with, whether it's a religion or it's a technology, you can come in with the salvation to these people. And you're basically having Americans walk into literally whatever opportunity that you're providing for them, now that they're too desperate to be able to have any discernment to split and see like, maybe this is a foreign government coming to take advantage of us in a very desperate position. And probably that is going to be the end of this country as we know it. We won't even come 2 steps into making Project 2025 a thing. And if it does become a thing, Project 2025 will just be a tool to support the immense wealth inequality, the rich versus poor society that we're going to end up living in. And say that those wealthy people deserve that because God said they deserve it. And you can't question God because God is perfect. Even if that perfection is protecting some of the most villainous, sociopathic people in our society. We can't question that.
America's fucking cooked, y'all. Just don't call yourselves fucking conservatives anymore, because this big, beautiful bill rat fucks our national debt over the next 10 years. Never before in human history have poor people simped harder for rich people than the American fucking conservative right now. I hope it was worth it to kick millions of people off Medicaid just to add $3 trillion more to the debt. Hope you get everything you fucking voted for.
I did vote for Trump, and now I will deal with the aftermath of the tariffs. I compared 2024 first quarter to 2025 first quarter. I am down 70%. I'm not willing to say that that's due to the decisions of the administration yet, because my business does run in cycles. When it comes to the items that I import directly from China, like the pens, pencils, coffee mugs, keychains, calculators, that's all been affected immediately. I also had a quote for rubber ducks that I was working on, 5,000 rubber ducks. And my unit cost went from below 30 cents to just below 50 cents overnight. Consequently, that order of ducks is on hold. I also had 10,000 poker chips on hold. I have 2,000 hats on hold. This is all merchandise I could be selling right now. Yes, I do have some investments that are down, which is affecting me on the personal side. Now we're not sure which direction we want to go.
So we can wave goodbye to Trump's tariffs. I don't know if you saw the news, but they just got struck down. They're illegal. Now they rule that he's got to go through Congress. But my guess is that there's probably going to be a vote soon in which Trump tries to put these tariffs on the floor to see if Republicans will vote for them. It will be a vote to decide whether or not Congress will raise your prices. And I say give them hell every single day. Let them know. They've got to fear losing their seat more than they fear Donald Trump. So call your congressman, let them know to say no to Trump's tariffs.
Are we all just waiting for this whole charade, whatever we're going through right now in the United States of America? We're just waiting for that all to collapse, right? Because even though we elected Donald Trump, he can only do so much because we have a bunch of Republicans in office that we put there, right? We put these people into office and they ain't doing shit. And y'all are going to say stuff like, oh, well, it's only been 4 months. It's only been 4 months. No. It actually hasn't. It's been since 2015. We are going on 10 years of wanting change. Because once 4 months is done, you're going to say it's only been 4 months. And then when it's 6 months is done, it's only been 6 months. How long are we expected to wait? How long? Is this just all part of the plan? Is everything in control? The Patriots are in control? No. And the sooner that we're all able to move towards the middle, right? As soon as we're able to move towards the middle, then we are going to smoke out the far right and the far left. But we all need to get in the middle.
You have to trust the president's instincts on the economy, okay?
No, we don't. Are you kidding me? He has bankrupted 6 different businesses, and you're asking us to trust him with the economy? It's like asking a convicted felon to be the president of the United States.
We have huge breaking news right now. A federal judge has just invalidated most of Donald Trump's tariffs, saying that Donald Trump's tariffs exceeded his authority under the IEEPA. Minutes ago, the Court of International Trade struck down Donald Trump's tariffs imposed under his executive authority. And these tariffs that were just struck down include the reciprocal tariffs that were applied to all countries across the globe. Now, significantly, that means Donald Trump now has to lift tariffs on everyone, including China and all these other countries. And the 90-day stay of the tariffs is coming up. Well, if these tariffs were invalid, then there's no more 90-day stay because the tariffs can't be imposed by Donald Trump under his authority on the IEEPA, which is a law that the president can use to kind of enforce tariffs or introduce tariffs during national emergencies. This is a major loss for the Trump administration. We'll see what happens next. Spread the word and follow along, stay up to date on all the news that you need to know about. There'll be much more to come very soon. We have huge breaking news right now. A federal judge has just invalidated most of Donald Trump's tariffs, saying that Donald Trump's tariffs exceeded his authority under the IEEPA. Minutes ago, the Court of International Trade struck down Donald Trump's tariffs imposed under his executive authority. And these tariffs that were just struck down include the reciprocal tariffs that were applied to all countries across the globe. Now, significantly, that means Donald Trump now has to lift tariffs on everyone, including China and all these other countries. And the 90-day stay of the tariffs is coming up. Well, if these tariffs were invalid, then there's no more 90-day stay because the tariffs can't be imposed by Donald Trump under his authority on the IEEPA, which is a law that the president can use to kind of enforce tariffs or introduce tariffs during national emergencies. This is a major loss for the Trump administration. We'll see what happens next. Spread the word and follow along, stay up to date on all the news that you need to know about. There'll be much more to come very soon. We have huge breaking news right now. A federal judge has just invalidated most of Donald Trump's tariffs, saying that Donald Trump's tariffs exceeded his authority under the IEEPA. Minutes ago, the Court of International Trade struck down Donald Trump's tariffs imposed under his executive authority. And these tariffs that were just struck down include the reciprocal tariffs that were applied to all countries across the globe. Now, significantly, that means Donald Trump now has to lift tariffs on everyone, including China and all these other countries. And the 90-day stay of the tariffs is coming up. Well, if these tariffs were invalid, then there's no more 90-day stay because the tariffs can't be imposed by Donald Trump under his authority on the IEEPA, which is a law that the president can use to kind of enforce tariffs or introduce tariffs during national emergencies. This is a major loss for the Trump administration. We'll see what happens next. Spread the word and follow along, stay up to date on all the news that you need to know about. There'll be much more to come very soon.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are doing super great from wherever you're watching us from. I'm your host and presenter Geopolitical Stories, and I'm hoping that you are doing great. Now, there has been reaction. People are reacting towards these, how they feel about all these tariffs being revoked. Well, it is a good thing. At least it's a good message. And the implication of this is that maybe the prices of goods and services will go down, at least for some products that are importantly being imported in the United States. Now, the White House has criticized the ruling through Trump, has not yet commented directly. Remember that. It is not for unelected judges to decide how to properly address a national emergency, White House Deputy Press Secretary Kosh Desai said in a statement. Now, this is according to BBC. But Letitia James, the Attorney General of the New York, one of the 12 states involved in the lawsuit, welcomed the decision. The law is clear. No president has the power to single-handedly raise taxes whenever they like, she said. That's Letitia James. Now, stock markets in Asia and US rose in early trading on Thursday following the ruling, while European markets opened flat. Right? You might ask yourself, what implications will this have now? For now, the court has given the White House 10 days to complete the bureaucratic process of halting the tariffs, although some are currently suspended anyway. Meanwhile, the White House has asked the court to block the order while it appeals it. The case could eventually go to Supreme Court, the highest court in the US, but even if Trump lost, it will be necessary spell the end of his tariff plans. Also, for one thing that I know, the ruling noted that the president does not have the power to impose tariffs up to 15% for 150 days to address concerns about the balance of trade, which the White House had argued were an emergency. Also, if the administration chose to go that route, those new tariffs could go into effect within days, according to analysts at Goldman Sachs. Also, Trump could also turn to other more established laws that he used in his first term to justify tariffs, which focus on issues such as national security and unfair trade policies. Those requires investigations and periods of public comment before tariffs go into effect. Goldman Sachs said Trump might also turn and tested part of the 1930 trade law that allows the president to impose tariffs of up to 50% on imports from countries that discriminate against the US. You might ask yourself, how did the United States get here? Now, on 2nd of April, Trump unveiled an unprecedented global tariffs regime by imposing import taxes on most of the US trading partners. A 10% baseline tariff was placed on most countries, along with steeper reciprocal tariffs handed down to dozens of nations and blocs, including allies such as the EU, the UK, Canada, and Mexico. Right? Now, Trump argued that the sweeping economy policy would boost America's manufacturing and protecting jobs, while kicking start negotiations over trade policies it views as unfair. Now, another thing you need to notice is that the global markets have been thrown into disarray since the announcement, but Trump has since backed down on some tariffs and reduced or delayed others. Biggest question to business owners, what does this mean for business and government facing tariffs? Business owners in the United States. For now, John Leonard, a former top official at the CBP, told the BBC that there would not be any changes at the border and that tariffs will still have to be paid. If the White House is unsuccessful in its appeal, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency, that the CBP, will then issue directions to officers to refund the payments. That's according to what he said. The ruling also raises questions about ongoing trade talks between the U.S. and other countries. The White House had argued in court hearing that its negotiation position will be weakening if the court struck down the tariffs. So let me know what you think about this. And I think a lot of citizens are receiving this in a positive way. I'm your host and presenter, Geopolitical Stories. But until then, I'm hoping to see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.